Robert Collins, author of Greater Thoughts, is also a motivational speaker and a mind coach, helping you to untrap your mind. In order to elevate your team, your organization, or your business, visit Robert Collins on theuntrappedmind.com or follow him on Instagram at Greater7Thoughts. That's greater, the number 7 thoughts. Robert Collins says, all success starts with a thought. Now turn that thought into action and go be great.
Above the noise of positivity reign. Each step I take, I conquer fear and pain. Greater thoughts echo through my mind. Uplifted, I soar, leaving shadows behind. Each word I speak, transforming my fate. In this untrapped mind, I am truly great.
Good morning. It is your host, Mr. RC. Once again, I'm back. And the way I start every week is the same. I want to let you know that my gratitude is with you. You know, I know that you can do anything you want on a Thursday morning at 8 a.m., 5 a.m. if you're on the West Coast. But here in the East Coast, it's 8 a.m. And I just thank you for taking time to allow my voice to be in your ears, in your hearing. Let me tell y'all, we're in Mental Health Awareness Month. We're the third weekend. And I want you all to know that I had this beautiful young lady on the show about a month ago. And at the end of our conversation, she said to me, Robert, I enjoyed this. We need to do it again. I said, I'm happy to have you back. And so she has graced me with her presence again. It is Reverend Corine Mack. Hello, how are you?
Good morning. I'm well, and thank you for having me back.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Listen, everybody, we are in Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you did not know, for some reason you've been under a rock, I'm bringing you out from under the rock today. Reverend Mack is not just a reverend. She's not just a lovely young lady from the NYC, but she's also the president of the Charlotte area NAACP. For the old school folks, that's the NAACP. But the NAACP, and we're here to talk about mental health. So we're going to just jump right into it. I just want to give you a little insight. Her accolades are longer than the wall of China, y'all, so I can't go into all of them. But I will say, tune in, stay focused. It's going to be jewels dropped in this episode. First thing I'm going to say is this. When you think of mental health, Reverend Mack, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Most times brokenness. But the most important word for me is healing. And healing is possible. What I want people to remember about mental health, oftentimes it's a harm done in secret. It's an emotional roller coaster done in secret and in isolation. And the reason we're having these conversations now is no one should feel alone, especially at that point in their life. And I want people to realize mental health does not mean the most egregious or aggressive, which may be schizophrenia. It may be a level of depression. It may be a feeling of loneliness. But as Black people, because of who we are culturally, we have to remind ourselves that we are truly a village.
Mm-hmm.
We are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. And it's our responsibility to walk through the fire with our sisters and brothers, those who are biological and those who are not. We are one. An injury to one is an injury to all.
That's good. And you say that, and it makes me think of an episode I did a couple of weeks back with a good friend of mine. And we were speaking about our perceptions of what mental health is. And I'm not going to be politically correct in when I say this, but when you're younger, the first thing you think of is the crazy person, right? It's the person that's doing something that just absolutely makes no sense in your thought process. And we don't think about the person that has just dealt with some trauma, or as we discussed in that episode, I'm going to say this: the generational trauma
Absolutely.
that's been, it happened to great granddad, and then great granddad passed it down to granddad, and granddad passed it down to your dad, and your dad has passed it down to you. And it may not be at the same grandiose level,
Mm-hmm.
but you still have it because it's been passed down. So where in my great grandfather was in a situation where black people were sharecroppers, where my grandfather was there fighting civil rights, where they were still letting dogs loose on people. Then my father was dealing with it where he could get a job where he worked with people that didn't look like him, but he still was mistreated. And so then now I'm dealing with all of that broken down, and that trauma is so impactful. And if you don't get the healing that you were speaking of, all we do is just keep passing it along.
Well, a lot of it is generational trauma, right? Sometimes it's generational curses,
Come on.
but also, especially in the southern region, it's post-traumatic slave syndrome. Although we have not been enslaved, as you stated, our great grandparents, and for someone like myself, our grandparents
Mm-hmm.
passed along not only the emotionalism, but the mindset of an enslaved person. And when you think about Black people having to go into white spaces, white places to be successful, and having to code switch simply to be promoted, to be seen, that's another level of trauma. You can't truly be yourself.
Do me a favor, please. Break down code switch for the listener that don't really understand what is
Sure, where
code
you have to
switch.
change your cadence, the way you speak. Your voice has to go up a couple of octaves so you're not offending someone because you sound like an angry individual with your normal cadence and normal voice. You articulate differently. You're not speaking in Ebonics, right? You're not saying, yo, what's up? Like you would with your brother in your community.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying good morning, instead of saying what's up.
Yeah.
There's a way in which you speak when you get into certain spaces. And although people call that professionalism, there's a level of professionalism with me saying what's up
That's
to my
correct.
brethren
Come on.
when
Come
I'm
on.
in certain spaces
That's right.
because we understand one another. And I think I believe we don't think enough about how we see white folks in this country and how we, in our minds, it may be subliminal, it's definitely implicit, that we don't realize how we go out of our way sometimes to appease other folks. Now, that's not my problem.
Come on.
I'm authentic no matter where I am. I'm going to be my authentic self. This is who God made me. And as God causes me to evolve and grow, I thank God for that as well. But I am so rooted in my Blackness that I'm going to show up as a Black woman all the time. Now, whatever that may be to some, that's their business. I know who I am. And I want other Black people to understand that in order for us to alleviate some of the stress that may cause trauma, we first have to have self-examinations and know who we are and love who we are, despite what the world says.
That's good. That's good. When you talk about self-examination, are we talking about who we decide that we want to be or who we are in our natural essence?
It's both. Because you may want to be something, you're not quite there yet, but you strive to be that particular person, the same way you strive to be a millionaire. You set goals for yourself and go about doing the work to become that millionaire. The same thing goes for someone who wants to be a good, decent person, a loving person, a caring person. You have to strive to be there. I have to strive to have more patience, right? I mean,
you and me both, especially when I'm driving.
It is what it is. I think about Galatians 5:22, the fruit of the Spirit, and how it manifests in my life. Well, some I think I've done well with, Patience is not one of them. I'm still a work in process. And let me be honest about it. There are times when I'm very patient, but we all have triggers. And that term trigger is something that we utilize in the mental health space. What triggers you? When you know what your triggers are, you work at finding ways to overcome those triggers. When we think about mental health and behavioral health in the black community specifically, there has been sexual abuse, there's been domestic abuse, there's been spousal abuse, male and female. There's been church abuse, right? You're dealing with workforce and workplace abuse. So as you go through life as a black person, simply because of the melanated skin, sometimes you are hated, sometimes you are harmed. How do you overcome that? Well, one way you do that is to be honest about the fact that it's happening and call it out. I believe a lot of trauma that we deal with is because we're silent on times when we should be speaking out.
That's very good. One of the things that I really focus in on, especially through my book, Greater Thoughts, is journaling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that people truly understand how important it is to write, especially with technology being what it is now. Everything is just easy to throw it in the cloud, throw it in the chat GPT. But we don't express ourselves enough through writing. How do you feel about writing when it comes to your mental health?
I've been journaling since I was 15 years old. I lost both my mother and father at 15. And quite frankly, I was in a mental health crisis because I was walking the streets of Harlem with two knives in my pocket, a 007 and a butterfly knife, looking to hurt somebody. That level of anger comes from a kind of mental health. I just snapped. And thank God I met a pastor and his wife who actually brought me through that situation and saw something really good in me and began to pour into me, guided me out of that. I began to journal about all the things I had gone through prior to their death and been journaling ever since their death. And still today, I write down, I keep a little notebook. I get home at night, I write down what happened that day, how I felt about the day, what I could have done differently in that space and in that time, what I could have said differently, and how I need to show up the next time that specific situation happens again.
Wow.
That causes me growth. I have to remind myself, this has happened before. It's like deja vu. You know, you feel that? This happened before. And you can't remember exactly how you responded to it, but you know you felt it before.
You've been there in that same
Absolutely.
exact spot, that same exact point, and it's like, what am I? How am I? How if this is my first time living? How am I living this again?
It's happened to me quite a few times, and I go back to what I wrote down, bring it back to my remembrance. I cannot respond the way I responded before because the outcome was not the outcome that I wanted. So my idea when I wrote it down has to be utilized in this moment, right now, here in this time. And that's what I do.
You know, I hear and feel your passion when we're talking about mental health. You know, when I asked you when would you like to come back, you said mental health month is next month, Rob. Let's do it next month.
Yes.
And I've had, a lot of people that are interested in coming on the show. And I'm happy that you're one that I selected, right? Very excited about that. But one thing that I've come to learn is that most people that are passionate about mental health have had a situation with their mental health that has placed them in a position to say, I really want to be that piece, that component that helps others.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that, if you could put it into words, what is it that is your number one thing to help people with?
Love. Loving themselves first, loving their families, loving their communities, loving, loving, loving. If you say you know God is love. Love is an action word. I think love overcomes all things, like the word says. It truly does. And so I go about my life pouring into anyone that comes into my space in love. Sometimes love corrects,
That's true.
rebukes, and chastises, right?
That's right.
But I think it's important that when we interact with one another, I pour into you and you pour into me, that we leave each other better than we met each other. And I think in love, in truly loving each other, we can guide people through pretty much anything. Now, if someone is having some psychosis, that's a different thing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's something more clinical. But when I talk about mental and behavioral health right now, I'm talking about depression, right? I'm talking about levels of anger and the inability to control your emotions. I'm talking about an opportunity for people to release some of the pain that they may be going through some issue or incident that may have happened. Sometimes just having a listening ear, a caring listening ear, will allow you to pour out your heart and cause you to at least get through that day. I'm talking about situations where people have actually felt suicidal and a conversation changed their minds.
Yes. Yes.
We have to be there for one another. We can't be so busy in life that we're not there for one another. And that's what love looks like. It's like a brother who calls you at 3 o'clock in the morning and says, I'm stranded on the side of the road. Can you come get me?
And I'm going to get them.
That's love. We have to have the same level of love for our sisters and brothers that may be going through something. I can tell you, I lost 2 sisters last year within 3 weeks. And I stopped eating and I stopped drinking water and didn't even realize it in the middle of the summer.
Dehydration's on the way.
We had a major event. And I passed out at the event. It was embarrassing, but it was a wake-up call. Okay, I didn't even realize I was going through some level of depression. The way I dealt with my depression over losing my sisters was I was shutting down.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it until that incident happened. And everybody rallied around me. And after that day, everyone was calling me, did you eat today? You know, that's
right.
love.
That's right.
That's
They
love.
checking on you now. Yeah.
And they still do, even today. Folks, Reverend Mack, did you eat? Yes, I ate. I'm good. I drank some water. I ate.
You're going so fast. You got to slow down.
Absolutely. I kept doing the work. That's the way I got through my depression, doing the work, helping other people, but I was not taking care of myself. That's why I say self-care is first. In any situation, you must take care of yourself first.
I want to get into the self-care, but you said something, and I have to ask this question.
Okay.
You mentioned 2 things that really stick in my mind: anger and behavior. And when you say those 2 things, see, I'm gonna just go ahead and get raw. I think about these kids, the youth, and then I'm trying not to go there, but I'm going there. I think about your position. You know, we all have positions, and you know, heavy is the mantle sometimes.
Amen.
When you think about the youth, and when I say youth, I'm really saying, you know, 15 to 25. Because 25, you're still young. You're just figuring it out, if you even figured it out yet. You know, when it comes to anger and violence, what do you really? Tell me what you feel on the inside when it comes to mental health and their actions and the emotional part. If you feel if you understand where I'm coming from,
I do.
The emotional part, because a lot of times, I'm gonna give you my personal thought process real quick, and I want you to dive right in. A lot of times, I look at us, and we talking about Black folks here. There's this lack of the father figure in a lot of our homes, you know, and because of that, we have so many young men and women too, but the young men is really what I'm talking about to you at the moment, just being transparent. There's so many young men that are carrying the emotional part of their life way in front of the logical part of their life. And so now your emotions go along with, you get upset, so your anger, and now you're in a mode of acting violent. Well, how does that really make you feel? What talk to me, Miss? Look, let me do it. Talk to me, Reverend.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I have a team that have been going into Turning Point Academy High School, which is the alternative school here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. Those are children who have long-term suspension. Most times it's because of violent acts, right?
Right.
And we were going in doing a 24 to 26-week program, teaching financial literacy, conflict resolutions, civic engagement, cultural awareness and cultural understanding. And there were many days I left there and sat in my car and cried because of the level of trauma some of those young people were going through. As you said, 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And how many of them were wearing bands on their ankles, ankle monitors,
Oh, I know what you mean.
in threat of having high recidivism, seeing the school to prison pipeline in real time. And we have a 99% positive turnout rate. Only one child returned back to that school after going through our training. We have not been able to get funding for that again.
Wow.
Now, I don't know who else is getting funding, but CMS is aware we have a 99% positive turnout and have not been able to get funded to go back into the school system. Now, for me, when folks continue to ask Black people to do stuff for free, that's rooted in white supremacy. I'm nobody's slave.
I know that.
The work that I do for the NACP is volunteerism. I don't get paid as the president of the NACP. This is all volunteerism. And I don't mind doing it because I love my people. But there's some work that I should be getting compensated for. That's
right.
one of them. So I really want to go back into school. I would like to go to 4 or 5 different schools to do that training. That training works because that's the same training I did all over the country. I know that it works. I used that training when I had to mediate 2 different gang members out in Yakima, Washington. I used it in California. So I know that it works. And it's proven to work here in Mecklenburg. So when I think about anger and violence and mental health and the connection of it, a lot of it actually comes from children simply not knowing, not having discipline, and children really emulating what they see and hear. Whether it's the music, let's be real. There is no other group on the radio or elsewhere saying kill, 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 dragging the females in their community, talking about them as if they were nothing, calling them all kind of degrading names. No other group. But who owns the record companies?
The people that don't look like the ones that's degraded folks.
Absolutely. And so you'll lift up the artist that speaks the craziest, that speaks violently all the time, that puts in the head of young people, 8, 9 years old, that gangbanging is a good thing. When the fact is they're not gangbangers themselves. It's all an image. And it's utilized as another tool to destroy our community. Look at our children. When you think about the 70s and the 80s, more like the 80s and early 90s, and hip hop, it was positive.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it changed.
Yeah.
And almost every artist that you hear from, there is something hateful and disrespectful coming out of their mouths. And this is what our kids are listening to. And then you go into the households where the mother may have to work 2 or 3 jobs to provide for her family, so she's not home. Listen, I had to be a latchkey child at one time in my life. But latchkey is different nowadays.
It sure is.
Because the streets are raising these children. And the streets are saying, join my gang. Everybody wants to belong to something. So I see young people joining gangs and being initiated into violent things. But where are the daddies. Unfortunately, most of them are either locked up or they have moved on and had other children with someone else.
Yeah.
And creating a vicious cycle.
I'll tell you another thing. You know, as a youth, and I'll tell you, I was an NWA kid. I loved NWA growing up. But I also paid attention to the fact that NWA used to tell us, we are not saying that this is what you should do. We're letting you know that this is what's going on in our community, and we don't like it. We don't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the life that we're being forced to live because they're taking all of the other things away from us. And parents used to tell us, I know you listen to that music, and I know I can't stop you from listening to that music, but don't think that you're supposed to live what you hear. Now the parents try to live it and teach it to the children.
Well, when your children having children, you can expect that, right?
When you were young, you did things as a child. When you grow up, you're supposed to put away the
childish things. But right. when you're a child and this is all you know, again, you're passing on generational curses. Mm-hmm. That's why I said that.
Yes.
But I still am hopeful because I believe in the village concept. And I believe that we need to have surrogate mothers and surrogate fathers. The village needs to step in and help both that parent who's not doing well raising that child and help that child. Mm-hmm. Help guide them to do the right thing. Because we want our children to live. And that's not what's happening now. We're having 13 and 14-year-olds taking lives of other people.
Yeah.
No respect for life. So we have a responsibility to step in and show them love. It's like all the brothers in the 70s who had just came out of the prison system, who joined the FOI. Mm-hmm. They began to learn what it meant to be a man and stood upright, became respectable, stood on the corners and sold bean pies.
That's right.
Gave out the last call, dressed to the nines, clean as the Board of Health every single day.
That's right.
And you saw the love of respect in them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what we have to do now. We have to begin to pour into our young brothers and sisters so they understand. It's not all about looking like the videos that you're watching. It's not all about flashing money and guns.
That's right.
It's about preparing for your future. And what does that mean when you say, I'm preparing for my future? What do you want your future to look like? But I want you to know, Robert, in that class, I've had young boys tell me they don't expect to live to see 18 years old. Mm-hmm. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
They know the level of violence they're living in. But we, the adults, have a responsibility to show them something different.
You know, you're going to come back again. You know that, right? Because we down to 3 minutes. I don't know where our time goes. If you will, in 2 minutes, explain what self-care looks like.
Self-care means many things, but it is, of course, hydrating, making sure you eat well, exercising, and having some time to either pray, which is what I do, or meditate. Think of something higher than yourself and give yourself time to have a wusa moment, a peaceful moment, every single day. Whatever it is that makes you happy, do that thing. If it's listening to music, sitting beside some water, but just taking time to just let go of everything in your life and take care of yourself. It also means whatever you do for others, do first for yourself. Don't
big.
Pour all out to someone else. Save some for yourself.
Yeah. An empty cup can't pour out.
Amen.
You know, I'm so grateful to have you, and we really have to do this again. I might put you on my rotation every other month. We're gonna have a session with Reverend Mack. Reverend Mack, I thank you so much for being here. Before we leave, though, I gotta remind you one more thing.
What is that?
All success starts with a thought. Take your thoughts, turn them into action, and go be great. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Listen, guys, we were blessed again by her beautiful voice, her presence, her knowledge, her wisdom. But tune in again next Thursday when we'll be finishing out the end of the month for mental health. We'll be in this next week with Miss Cheryl McFadden of Mind Changing Solutions. and we'll be talking about keeping yourself in a healthy place. Once again, I thank you. God bless. See you next Thursday.
In the silence of the night, when doubt creeps in, I hear that whispering voice pulling me from within. The weight of the world tries to break my soul, but I rise from the ashes.